Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Midweek Takeaway. Today we're going to look at a very different type of investment and one which I'm very passionate about. Classic cars. What do you think about that, Kev?
Well, I don't get it at all. I think you're all crazy, to be honest with you. But anyway, I'm sticking to my green Megane, and it's still going. New engine, new suspensions, all of those things. But I can see the attraction. But I'm intrigued to be, what type of investment it is. That I suppose is what we're going to be talking about, which is great.
Indeed. So yeah, you heard me right. Classic cars, they've appreciated 193% in the last decade. And having built a collection myself, I can attest to that as well. Today we're joined by David Spickett, CEO of the Car Crowd, and Wayne Lamport, MD at Stone Cold Classics Limited. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you both today?
I'm good, thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Excellent. So, David, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the Car Crowd and what it is that you actually do?
Yeah, we have a platform that allows people to join together to buy iconic and prestige cars. The way the platform works is that we have 1,000 real equity shares in any one of our cars available. The platform takes care of all the regulatory and legal side of that by registering the car as its own limited company. And then you can buy one or up to 100 shares in any vehicle. And as that vehicle goes up in value or appreciates in value, so too does the share price of the company. So it's an alternative investment model that we've kind of created to allow people to get access to classic cars where they may have appreciated out of reach. Things like the Sierra you can see behind us. That was back in probably 5 to 10 years ago, something that people could have afforded, but at the moment now it's on this appreciation curve, which means it's got out of reach. But we still allow people to get a part share in that car and not have to shell out the whole £60,000, but actually maybe get 5% for sort of £2,000 or £3,000 and enjoy the experience of having a classic car collection, but without the need to fund the whole thing.
Yeah. So talk us through how it actually works in terms of, obviously from the sourcing of the vehicle to the funding, and then obviously how I believe you register it as each car as a limited company or limited company itself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we source the cars. We work with dealerships sort of around the country and private classic car collectors to find the best examples of the type of car we're looking at. We're looking at cars that are around about sort of 20 to 30 years old. That's kind of the sort of modern classics, I think we'd probably coin them as. And the reason we do that is really because we want the cars that have sort of the poster cars of our teenage years, because they're the ones that when we get to the 30s and the 40s, they're the ones that we kind of go out and buy, and therefore, because there's a limited supply but a big demand, the valuation starts to sort of shoot up when they get to that age range. So we look for the best examples of those cars. We then take the car. We obviously do all the provenance checks. We make sure that it's a UK-based car. It's not been raced or rallied or written off or anything like that. Once we're satisfied that it ticks all the criteria to become an investment vehicle, we'll register a limited company at Companies House. We then register 1,000 real equity shares, like I say, which is basically the value of the car divided by 1,000. And that becomes the share price. And the reason we did it that way is because we were very passionate about being regulated or following all of the UK crowdfunding regulations. So we are an appointed representative of Kessian Capital, who are authorised and regulated by the FCA. So it gives the investors a bit more protection and security over some other sort of more risky, unregulated investments, say in whiskey or wine, or maybe even into the cryptos and things like that, which don't have the same regulatory backing. We do follow all of those because we use that limited company structure. So the client's money, if you like, is kind of safe and protected by those regulations.
Excellent. So talk us through so you've got the vehicle, you've got the funders there, you've got it's broken down into 1,000 shares. I believe there's a maximum you can buy up to 10% of that. So you could effectively have 100 shares. Is that correct? Yeah. That's the max.
Yeah, correct. And we did that. We limited it to 10% so that not one person could control the car, because actually we wanted it to be a community type business. So the shareholders themselves are kind of joining together to buy that car. So we limited it to 10%. That every 6 months, then we'll send out a market valuation and a market report that says this is what that car's been doing over the last 6 months worth of tracking the sales, and then we'll give a bit of an idea of where we think the next 6 months might go. Yeah. And then it's up to the shareholders then to vote. Do we think we should keep the car, or do we think we should sell the car? Normal majority, using the same sort of structure as any annual general meeting for any limited company. And it's a majority rule. So if they say to keep, then we keep the car. If they say to sell, then we'll follow the process to sell the car.
And in terms of the cost of the upkeep of the vehicle, say it needs an annual service or it needs to be MOT'd, etc., and obviously the storage cost, do you factor that into the equation on the pricing as well?
Yeah, so the share price is set. We have a small margin that we take as the car crowd, as the curation fee. And then after that, we apply an operations fee, which is between 5 and 10% for each vehicle. And again, it works because it's a percentage. So if you've got 10% of the vehicle, you pay 10% towards the storage, upkeep and maintenance for up to 5 years. And that's factored in when you buy the share. So, for example, if the share price for the Cosworth behind us is £59 a share, if you buy one share, you'll pay an extra £5.90 as your contribution towards the storage, maintenance, and insurance for the next 5 years.
And talk us through. I know you. I think I had a flick through your catalogue earlier on, and you had a 205 GTI on the Peugeot, which is obviously a sort of hot hatch classic. I think there was a Renault Clio V6 on there, phase 1 or something, and that looked at like lovely car as well. But how many vehicles have you actually acquired, and how many have you actually sold?
So we've acquired 6, we've funded 2, and then we've got 3 live and 1 to come. So the 2 that we funded, the Peugeot 205 GTI, like you say, 24,000 mile, 1 owner car, and the 1.6 GTI, it's literally concourse original. We funded that at £18.90 a share, so 18,900. It's just been valued at 21,000. So there's about 7-8% return there for investors over the first 6 months. And the Clio V6 was funded in June. That's about to have its first 6 monthly valuation. That was funded at £30 a share. And we're estimating that the valuation of that will be close to the £40,000 mark, if not a bit over, given that one's just sold on collecting cars. I think a phase 2 sold for 73,000 recently. So we're expecting the Clio to be, well into the 40s potentially, which could give a 35-40% return in 6 months. So there is a real chance that some of these modern classics do really climb. We haven't realised an investment yet, so we haven't sold one because the shareholders haven't voted to sell. They've voted to keep. So the Peugeot's been on the books for a year. And as I say, the Clio's been on the books for 6 months. We're expecting the lifespan of the investment to be 3 to 5 years to really get that sort of appreciation curve. And then, we're sort of projecting, as you said before, the returns were 193% over the last 10 years from Knight Frank. So you can sort of do the average return that we're expecting and hoping that these vehicles will give to the shareholders.
Brilliant. So, Wayne, what are your thoughts on? I mean, obviously, I know I've seen you've got some unbelievably good quality cars, and I don't know how you source them. I'll be honest, I genuinely don't. What are your thoughts on the cars that David's got there? And I know we've talked about the Sierra Cosworth as one you've had before, but what about the other vehicles, the 205 and the?
Yeah, they're just almost no-brainer cars because back in the day when we were all driving in our teens and early 20s, that's what we wanted. We aspired to. That's what most of us did drive 205s and Golf GTIs, and we aspired to Cosworths and the like. And now you got men in their 40s and 50s who nostalgia is such a powerful thing that we look back at these cars and we can afford them now. Some people can afford them, and there's more demand than there are cars. So therefore, the prices go up. And since COVID, since the pandemic, the increase in certain car values has just been phenomenal. It's actually almost difficult to keep up. I can give you a good example. I bought a Corrado VR6, a 2-owner car with 30,000 miles, white with black leather, and it was absolutely mint condition, full history, all the boxes you want to tick. So low mileage, low owners, full history, lots of original condition, a kind of car that was appreciated in period, which always helps. And we sold the car within a day for £17,000. And that car appeared back on the market within 6 months for £27,000 and sold almost as quickly. So a £10,000 increase in 6 months on the just the right car. So the potential for an investment in some of these cars is phenomenal, actually.
I think you make a good point. I think also since COVID hit, that sort of last couple of years, I think people who've had a project car in the garage have had time to actually go out there and finish that project off. And you're seeing them crop up some amazing examples of cars that have been really well restored. And I think people have just put more time and more love into them to make them better. And we're seeing some really good examples on the market right now. Yeah,
absolutely true. But I also think that people with COVID have realised how much they want to get out there and enjoy them. So actually being released from lockdown has meant that you can get in your car and enjoy it. And you can go anywhere in a car. You can do anything. You meet anyone. It's a world of opportunity. So as a release from lockdown, it's the perfect antidote. So, just to feel the sun on your face, the wind in your hair, the go anywhere, meet like-minded people is I think people really missed that when they were locked down and realized how much they appreciate it. And actually, I think there's a lot of people who now working from home who've got a standard car, a station car, let's say, on the driveway that is on a lease, probably costing them a few £100 a month, that's depreciating in front of their very eyes, and they realise they don't need that car anymore. They may as well go out and buy an MX-5, have some fun, and lose no money. In fact, potentially make money. So I've found that in my business, in that people are just coming to me saying, "I just want some fun in my life. I've always wanted this car, and now I'm going to buy it."
Yeah, I think it's that nostalgia sells, as you say, and everybody wants to relive that the driving like in the 80s. I mean, I've got a Mark 1 GTI, as you know, and I every time I get in it, it's just like stepping back in time. The smell of the plastics, everything about it, it's like, big greenhouse where you've got visibility. There's no ABS. It's just proper, but bare bone, back to basic driving, and you can't beat that.
And you can't help but smile.
Exactly.
You get in a car like that and you smile. It's fun. It's enjoyment. It's almost impossible not to be happy in a car like that. So yeah, it's almost good for your mental health. It's good for your physical health. I can't see any downside really on the car investment potential. So it's a great thing to be involved in.
So do you think there's any, I mean, we've seen it before there was a last run, wasn't there, about 15 years ago in this similar scene, and the bubble went, and obviously we saw prices dropping. Do you think we're in a different society now, as you say, where people are really appreciating that, and also the fact that they're not making them? It's like, I always say, find another one. Like, you've got a car at the moment, find another one. You're not going to do it,
Yeah, I think the previous explosion in car prices in the 80s, like you said, was concentrated around Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, the top of the market, which in the current climate has struggled, because I think those people buy those cars simply for investment. They're just there to make money. Whereas actually the people buying cars now are buying them because they love cars, and it's almost like a sidebar that they do make money. It's just a bit of an added bonus. So the people buying cars at the moment are buying them for the love of them, but they're getting that advantage of actually being a very good investment at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. So go on then, give us your 5 top investment picks for, let's say, the next 5. Let's give it 10 for the decade. What would you buy now that you could put in a bubble, but use it obviously sparingly? Give me your 5 cars to appreciate in the decade.
You've put me on the spot, haven't you?
Renault Megane 2006 green.
Tell you what, the Renault Megane R26R.
R26R, that's a good with the old
R26
plastic windows, wasn't it? The old plastic.
Yeah, and
not the 1.6 automatic. Then no, that's not going to work. Okay.
It's difficult in my business because I've kind of avoided the obvious, so we don't really go. To buy a Peugeot 205 GTI is very difficult in my business, to buy something at the right price to then be able to sell it for a profit, because everyone knows what they're worth. So we specialise in some really unusual stuff, but then there's great niches for all these cars. There's always someone who will love a Volvo 240 or an SLK. There's always someone for those cars. So rather than say top 5 cars, I would say if you can find anything from the 80s and 90s that is original, low mileage, low owner, full history, in mint condition, not restored, original, and you like it, you're going to make money on it, because they are that's the very top of the market. It's what everybody wants. So whether that's a Volvo 240, a Volkswagen Corrado, an XKR, a Saab 900 convertible, if you can find the best existing example and you keep it in that condition, you continue the maintenance of that car, make sure you don't leave it outside, and make sure it doesn't go out in the winter, you're going to have an absolute no-brainer investment. BMW 30s, so your 325s, I would say, is a no-brainer. Even stuff like full Granadas with the Cosworth engine, the 2.9 Cosworth, you'd be amazed how much they're fetching. I recently sold a Peugeot 505 Estate that we purchased for not a lot of money. We sold it for around £7,000-8,000, and then that chap sold it at auction for £23,000. So when you've got something that's that rare, that unusual, and there's a lot more than 10 people who want it in the world, the price then becomes, it becomes a question mark. It can be whatever the market decides it wants to be. So yeah, my advice is buy the best of anything you can find, as long as it's a good car. Your Rover Metros of this world, just City Rovers, no one cares. But anything that was vaguely
Metro Turbo, Wayne, come on.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. I'm talking about the Rover Metros, the ones that the old ladies
1.4 GTI, K-Series engine, 16 valve 1.4 GTI, the K-Series engine. They were good cars.
They were good cars. They were, yeah. But that's why you have to know what you're doing in this game. So if you're the early Austin Rovers, Austin Metros, yeah, good cars. But a Rover Metro, for example, and there's certain cars that are out there that Mark II MX-5s, for example, where the great. There's not many really nice ones left. But at the same time, they were second or third cars, so there are a lot that were very well kept, and always garaged by people who could afford a second or third car. So sometimes these things are not as rare as you might think, but then other cars are rarer than you could even possibly imagine. We're talking about handfuls left of stuff that was pretty ubiquitous on the road. So it's there's lots to choose from, and if you buy something that doesn't need restoration, obviously, because that's a different road that you don't want to go down. If you're got an eye on investment, then you can't really go too far wrong.
Yeah, I think just to build on that, I think that's kind of where we want to slot in, if you like, because we obviously, before I was buying cars in my personal life, and I've been a car nut for as long as I can remember. But we want to provide people, I think, with a couple of things that Wayne was saying before. So the community aspect. Yeah, that's why we've built this sort of place in here where we've got the cars stored and we've got more cars coming in, and then through the other door you've got a cafe lounge area with a driving simulator and stuff as well. So everyone who's invested in the cars invited to come here and look at their car collection whenever they want. And the plan for us, really, or the dream I have, is that someone drives their classic, the car they love, the car they want to drive every day, maybe the one they've restored, maybe the one that they've had in the family for years, whatever it might be. But they drive that car here and then they look at the other cars. So they haven't got to have that worry about, I'm driving this car and I'm now depreciating it, because obviously that's unfortunate. The sort of juxtaposition in any classic car owner's head is the more I use it, the less it's worth. And actually, it was horrible for me when I've had Ferrari 360s, Mondials, and a few others. And I always used to think every pound I was wasting a pound every 10 miles or so I was going. And, it's a really horrible feeling when you get into that mindset. So, the other part of it is experience as well, and buying the wrong ones. And, we've got a team of curators here, and similar to you, Wayne, live and breathe in cars for a number of years, gives you a different sort of insight into the market and a different ability to buy with your head, not your heart, a lot of the time. So we're trying to bring the best examples of the cars, the low mileage, the low owners, the full history, the originality. We'll go out and find those. We'll spend the hours looking at the wrong ones and the bad ones, and seeing the ones that are smoking or are 4 different colors or whatever it might be. And we'll say no to those ones and bring only the best ones to the platform to allow people to have an investment in a classic car, but in the knowledge that actually it's a well curated one. It's been checked for provenance. It's not going to have the issues of popping and banging or whatever as they leave the forecourt, but still have their own private classics to drive and use and love, and have that best of both worlds. Some to use and some to sort of appreciate and make them some money.
Yeah. So you've got the car crowd model now. What's stopping you from having the watch crowd or the wine crowd or something like that, and moving it the same model into a different sort of industry?
Yeah, nothing at all. So that's the plan. That's exactly the plan. We just raised about 380,000 on Cedars in June. So we did an investment raise, which got us the premises and the places we're kind of in today. But the part of that business case, if you like, was absolutely to be the first passion-based fractional investment business in the UK, where under a regulated banner, you could have and curate your own man or woman cave of assets, whether it be the Banksy pictures you like, the Rolex watches, the Chateau Neuf de Paps or the Sierra Cosworth. You can have a bit of a share in a few different things of assets that you love, and as those quite high performing asset classes appreciate in value, then you make money with it, as well as enjoying the kind of a collection which is a bit more interesting than something like a normal stock and share.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that red car behind you?
That's a 360 Modena, 21,000 mile, 2-owner, both Ferrari Owners Club owners, full Ferrari history, right-hand drive, Rosso red, creamer interior, manual gearbox.
It goes fast.
Yeah, about 186 miles an hour, 400 horsepower, 1,260, I think, kilo curb weight. So it's a good combination. Yeah. It's quite
So how much is that one worth?
Well, I mean, difficult to say. Obviously, we valued it at 77,000, so it's £77 a share. You can pick up 360s for 50 grand, but you'd be buying a Grigio Silver or Tour de France or a yellow one maybe, and probably would be flappy paddle gearbox and would have mid to high mileage without history. So we looking for the best of the best is sometimes difficult. And what Wayne said earlier around the Peugeots and things, if it's difficult for a dealer to make money, right? Because you haven't got the margin in it to be able to move it on. But because we're looking at a 5-year projection, actually for us, it's like we bought it at 77, but we think there's a strong 5 to 10% case for appreciation because there are only 300 odd red right-hand drive manual Ferrari Modernas, 360 Modernas. So it's that kind of low number recipe that we're looking for.
And the black one, what is it?
The black one. So there's probably people that won't know what that is. Not many people have seen those. It's a spiker.
I wasn't sure the other one was a Ferrari. So let's be honest,
But even the most ardent petrol heads, might not have seen a spiker. There's only 265 in the world ever made, C8s and C12s. We have one of 8 right-hand drive Spider examples, which has done 13,000 miles. It's got a cool history. It's been in the Fast and the Furious movie as an extras car. It's also been on the Cannibal Run and appeared in a couple of Cannibal Run movies as well. It's just beautiful. It's an Audi R8 technically underneath, 4.2 litre V8, again just over 400 horsepower, again around the 1,200 kilo curb weight. So it's sort of again that supercar kind of recipe of lightweight, but with good power, not massive power, but usable power, and built in 2003. It's lived a pampered life. It's been garaged everywhere all its life. It's pretty immaculate. We valued that at 220,000. We agreed to fund this car back at the start of the year, and one actually sold in May, I think, for 295,000. So we valued it at 220,000. So we may have been very conservative, but we haven't shifted the price up. We've just actually passed that on to the investors. So the investment case for that car becomes even stronger, given that one's already sold this year for what 30% more, 40% more than what we've valued ours at.
And you have a number of the 1,000 shares left on these cars to be purchased, and the 3 that we see.
The COSI's getting low. That's less than 50%. I think there's only about 400 shares left in the Cosworth. The other 2 we only launched a couple of weeks ago, so both the Ferrari and the Spiker I think are around about 15% funded. So they've got a fair, sort of a little way to go. We estimate normally 60 to 90 days to fund a car. The more expensive ones may take longer because it's more of a considered investment. Obviously, we've got a few people, for example, that are going to be putting sort of 15 to 20,000 into the Spiker, but they're waiting for other investments, putting money out of crypto or putting money out of property deals or whatever in order to try and invest in the cars. So some go really quick. The Peugeot went in about 45 days, but some take a bit longer.
Yeah, if you remember, Phil, when we were talking about this is almost like physical NFT for the car. Instead of going through blockchain crypto situation, you're physically doing the NFT rather than actually, because that's basically what it is. An NFT is nothing new. It's been part share of something for a long time. But it's a very interesting concept. Yeah.
We're actually looking at the asset-backed tokens. I mean, that's where we may go next. Obviously, we've used the limited company structure to start with because it's well known in the UK. People understand limited companies. They understand if they have shareholder rights and they have voting rights. But we might look to a token structure for the
I think if you added a token structure to it and you could add a proper authenticity so people knew exactly, because what comes with an NFT is the fact that if you do a physical NFT, you have an authenticity, a serial number, and something that has been verified by, say for instance, the Cosworth, you'd have a Ford, RS engineer come and assess it and say, this is absolutely that, one of the best examples. He'll put his signature on it. And then the value of that would go up even more because it's backed against the physical NFT token. So yeah, it's mind blowing what you can do with these things.
Yeah, we're revamping our platform ready for February next year. So we will have, that is the plan, is to use blockchain and NFT tokens to be able to tokenize the asset effectively. But we won't be using crypto. We'll still stay away from cryptocurrency. That will still be real money exchange. so that we can keep to the anti-money laundering rules in the UK. But yeah, certainly it's the way to go. Definitely agreed.
So give it 5 years. Where do you want to? What are you going to outgrow that facility? Do you want to become like the go-to place for buying cars, for petrol heads to go and meet on a weekend, almost like the caffeine and machine type place? Tell us about what your aspirations are.
Yeah, I think 5 years time. Yeah, we'd like to have. I mean, with two things really. I guess we'd like to have absolutely that physical kind of location. We've got another site that we're moving into next year that's got 10,000 square foot storage. Plus, it's got 4 outbuildings which we can use as a cafe, detailer, photography studio. On-site maintenance potentially or sales. So we wanted to kind of grow into that. It's got space for 120 space car park as well. So we really have ambitions, if you like, to grow the community and invite those investors down to see the cars. And have I guess a similar to a caffeine and machine, and what Phil has achieved over there is amazing in Stratford, and we'd love to have a bit of that success in that sort of community environment. We're also looking to build a virtual garage to have people. These cars also exist in a virtual garage, which is launching next year. So you'll have your own virtual world, and you can curate. That links more into the NFT style type stuff we were talking about, and then have an exchange where in the virtual world you can actually exchange your tokens with other investors, go and see their garage, etc. And obviously, if you've invested in any asset, whether it's a car or a painting or a bottle of whiskey, that appears within your own virtual garage and your own virtual world. Well, so you can build your own kind of virtual asset collection, as well as obviously coming to see those real assets in real life as well. That's the sort of plan. And obviously then, just to have the other asset classes on board as well. And the main dream is really to do a car show. We want to do the car crowd car show at some point and have a massive field with all the investment cars, but also all the investors bringing their cars. Everybody who's invested in the cars gets in for free, and we just create a really nice kind of summer family car show as well is another aim.
So any listeners out there now thinking, fancy, don't quite have the space for it in the garage, but they want to invest in a classic, something like a Cosworth or a 360 Moderna, then get on to www.thecarcrowd.co.uk. And for Wayne as well, I've actually bought a car through Stone Cold Classics and dealt with Wayne, and he's a pleasure to deal with. And if you really want to get the finest of the lowest mileage car, then you need to get in contact with Wayne Lamport. You'll find him on stoncoldclassics.co.uk, and you'll also have a look on his Facebook page for more details. You'll see the current cars on there. But both of you, again, thanks for your time, David, and thanks for your time, Wayne.
Yeah, no, thanks very much. I'll be in touch, Wayne, about that next 5.
I'm looking forward to it. Cheers, David.
Lovely.
Good luck, guys.
Cheers.
Take care.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.